In this video, we're going to talk about configuring Android Studio to make our workflow easier. But first, we're going to create a folder on our computer where we're going to save all our projects. I'm going to create mine under Documents, New Folder, and I'm just going to call it Projects. But if you're on Windows, make sure you create your Projects folder right on your local disk. So navigate to your C drive, right-click, and create a new folder there called Projects. And the reason this is important is because there's a Windows-specific issue that you're going to encounter if you don't do this later on. So create the projects folder directly on your C drive. Next, we're going to fire up Android Studio and change some of the preferences. So fire up the program, wait for it to load, and then go to Configure, Preferences. On Windows, it's very similar. That menu is just called Settings. Now, if you've already opened a project and don't see the splash screen, you can always access the settings under File and then Settings. First, we're going to decide how we want Android Studio to look and feel. We have a choice between a light theme and a dark theme. And I can tell you this, when you're working on the computer for a long time, having it set to the dark theme is a lot easier on the eyes. You can easily change the theme by clicking on Appearance and Behavior. Expand that, click on Appearance, and then here you can change the theme to Darkula, which will be the dark theme. And if you click Apply, you'll see the change applied instantly. The other thing people do is make the font size a bit larger, so everything is a bit easier to read. So expand Editor, then go to Fonts and Colors, click on Font, and what you need to do is actually save a custom theme because you can't overwrite the existing default themes. So you just need to click Save As, call it anything you want, click OK, and then you're free to change the font size as you see fit. So this is a bit of a trial and error. See what font size looks good to you, and then hit Apply. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to tell Android Studio to automatically import packages and components we're going to use. That means Android Studio will automatically insert some code at the top of our code files when it knows which component we want to use. So under the settings, go to Editor General, and then click on Auto Import. And change Insert Imports on Paste from Ask to All. And then make sure there's a tick box under Add Unambiguous Imports on the Fly. Next, we're going to tell Android Studio about the naming conventions we want to use. This is more of a style thing, but it's very handy when we tell Android Studio to auto-generate some code for us. Under the Editor menu, expand Code Style and click on Java. Then go to the Code Generation tab, and under Name Prefix, put an M there. And under Static Field, type a lowercase s. And that's it. Again, hit Apply to save your settings. Lastly, we're going to check the installed SDK Platforms. SDK stands for Software Development Kit, and it's a package that allows you to build an Android app for a particular version of Android. Under your Settings or Preferences, go to System Settings and then find something called Android SDK. You will also be able to type in SDK into the search bar to find this menu much more easily. And here you want to select those versions of Android which you're targeting with your apps. So maybe pick the latest one and pick that version of Android which you're running on a physical device that you own. You'll be able to find the Android version of the device probably in the same place we found the build number when we enabled USB debugging. Whatever you do, don't put a tick box next to all of these. There's no point in installing all the SDK platforms. Alright, so in the next lesson, we're going to talk about how to set up an emulator. And this is a pretend phone that's going to run on your computer. And it's really handy for testing apps on a device that you don't own.